Let me say this. As of right now, this has been re-stirred up because of allegations that Denzel McGee has taken to them, which has recently has been shown to not be trustworthy for the simple fact that they just did a video against him, attacking him. Now, let me tell you something I can tell you about Denzel. Denzel is one that, in anger and frustration, he's quick to stretch the story, exaggerate. But I can admit that he's good in repenting and coming back and asking for forgiveness. Unfortunately, a lot of times, the damage has already been made. You see what I'm saying? So, obviously, he went over there with his frustration, his anger, making allegations that are unbecoming because he failed to hear the full story. They ran with it, and now that they don't have their primary witness, right? Because they're attacking him now, what have you. Now all of a sudden, all of the stuff that they're bringing up of many years ago are resurfacing. I laugh at that. At the end of it, bring me something new. Right now, you're guilty. All of y'all are guilty of doing exactly what you said we shouldn't do. Listening to the second part, listen to the second witness. So Denzel McGee goes over there making allegations, but nobody talks to me. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's a joke. It's funny.
All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dowell. I'm here with Brother Eric Gonzalez, the Hebrew Israelite brother down in Miami, Florida. Brother, that's very good. And I tell you what, Brother Eric, you are a testimony to the ministry of Straightway Truth. And you're a perfect example of showing people how important that it really truly is to know these scriptures, to know this book, to know what you're talking about, because you're not bearing witness to the Straightway Truth. You're bearing witness to the one who redeemed you.
I am here with a very special Israelite brother who has driven up all the way from Miami. We got Brother Eric Gonzalez. Y'all seen him on YouTube. Me and him did a video about his experience. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually come in here. We're going to allow Brother Eric to clarify exactly, because only the saints are listening to this, not the whole wide world.
Hallelujah. Well, thank you, Pastor, and my blessings to the saints, and my prayers are with you, Brother Eric, and your journey, and I hope Godspeed be to you.
All right. Hallelujah. Shalom.
Shalom.
All right, brothers and sisters, we had a long night tonight. Kind of went over and stuff a little bit. We thank y'all for Brother Eric.
Pleasure, my pleasure.
And his family to be here to add to the ministry right here, to provide and bring wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, as well as good testimonies. It's been a blessing.
There's a man out there by the name of Eric Gonzalez.
I am here with a very special Israelite brother, with Brother Eric Gonzalez.
There by the name of Eric Gonzalez, that continues to keep slandering not only my name.
You're going to do an interview with Brother Denzel McGee, formerly known as Denzel McGee, and he is actually going to expose Eric Gonzalez.
You know, how many times I got to tell you people there are two sides to every story. And
if somebody's presenting you a story and they never, ever, ever want to put the other party or the party that they're speaking about or talking about in front of you so that you can hear both sides, you know who the liar, you know who the deceiver, and you know who the hypocrite is.
Now, folks, this man made a statement about if you're only hearing one side of the matter, then somebody is obviously trying to hide something. So here we have a video that was done by Jediah Malik, Bastard Dowell Destroy Straightway Sex Cult, Obliviated Part 2 Final, which reached up to 2,853 views. But it was mysteriously blocked Okay. I spoke with Jediah Malik, and he spoke to me and told me that Pastor Dowell, or Coward Dowell, called YouTube and had it copyrighted. So how are you going to make a statement concerning only hearing one side, but you need to hear both sides, unless somebody obviously is hiding because they don't want you to hear both sides of the story? But here he can put up videos, or he can say this, that, and the third, but when it's time for him to get banged on, he goes to YouTube crying with his tail between his legs. All right, so we're going to see if Coward Dowell, P. Diddy, is going to do the same thing. Okay, all right, so shalom and enjoy the video.
Somebody's presenting you a story, and they never, ever, ever want to put the other party that they're speaking about or talking about in front of you, so that you can hear both sides. You know who the liar, you know who the deceiver, and you know who the hypocrite is. And you know who the hypocrite is.
It's not the obvious, baby. Brian Israel for sure. Scriptures over everything you need. Let's go. Wake up. False prophets, deceiving the masses, man, they gotta stop it. It's not an option. The elect for this truth, we pop it. Bringing a word, just stomping on Adawam. Till my ak within my akim, I just greet with shalom. It's not deep, we probably beat them, bruise your fear. If a man have a ear, let him hear the words of the Most High. Romans 3 and 4, let every man be alive. About to catch a righteous body, I'm like 10-4. Copy trying to be a part of the 144, do you follow? Scriptures over everything, yeah, you know the motto. We them real Jews, we bout them holy days. No cooking and cleaning, resting on them Sabbath days. Exodus 20 and 8, okay, you know we here, real recognize, real this year. Hold up, I'm in my own lane, running at my own pace. Roll to the crap flows and them TD snakes. False prophets. Hold up. False prophets, deceiving the masses, man, they gotta stop it. It's not an option. The elect for this truth, we pop. Bringing a word, just stomping on Adawam. Till my out with them, my akim, I just greet with shalom. 12 tribes, then told my fam at least 12 times about this truth, and that it's bigger than they realize. And what hurt me the most is that my own mind despised. Reading Matthew 10:22, I know why. Needing help from Yahweh himself above.
My children in law, talking about my pastor like that, but it is what it is. He's a heathen in my eyes. What he's doing as far as building Sabbath community, he ain't no different than the Amish community as well as the Christian pastor. Ain't no difference. So because he's doing that, because the Christian people have, multiple churches, TD Jakes has all these churches, and Creflo Dollar got all these churches, I should go and esteem them because they got that? Like really? Nah, that ain't gonna happen. So the same way, I'm not fond of Creflo Dollar, I'm not fond of, what's his name, TD Jake. I'm definitely not fond of a Christian, Amish community person claiming to be an Israelite. That's not going to happen. As far as my ex-wife, I feel this journey has allowed me to understand and see her as, of another nation, not of a bloodline Israelite.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Shalom, Israel. This is Eric Gonzalez, the Eric Gonzalez often spoken of by the Straightway Ministry Charles Dowell Jr., also the overseer of Church of Jesus Christ, House of Prayer, affiliated with Faith Cathedral Fellowship out there in Macon County, Tennessee. Note that this video is not made to rebuke Charles Dowell or any of his affiliate in any kind of way. At the end of the day, I'm simply here to set the record straight. Throughout the last several weeks and months, several videos were made, the cutoff, the name, beware of certain calls, and a few other videos that were either made or blog talk videos or what have you. And so there are a few of them that I feel the need to respond to, for the simple fact that many of you all have contacted me in disbelief of his attack on me without being allowed to hear my side of the story. At the end of the day, when you have individuals controlling who you can and can't speak to, should cause a light bulb to go off and question the motive behind it. I'm an individual that has always been a very transparent individual. I love the journeys that we go through as a people, because the intent of those journeys is to be used as a testimony unto others that you could be a positive influence unto. So I am the first one to say, raise my hand and tell you, according to, Romans chapter 3, verse 23, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. I can raise my hand and say that. I trust and believe Dowell can raise his hand and say that. We're not perfect or what have you. But when you go out of your way to make a judgment call on a person and claim that it was done in a biblical format, and I can show you that that's not the case, then I think the logical thing is to put Israel in a position to judge between the brothers. Where's that biblically? That's in the book of Genesis, when you're dealing with Jacob and Laban. When Laban chases Jacob, when Laban realizes that one of his idols is missing, stolen by his daughter Rachel, and Jacob, at the end of the day, when the idol is not obtained or found, Jacob says, "Hey, let the brothers judge between the two. Your approach is unjust." Let me go on to say this. Throughout this journey, this is something that the Spirit bestowed upon my heart. And I'm not a prophet, and I'm not claiming to be one, but I gotta say what was bestowed upon my heart. There was a gentleman in the Bible by the name of Haman who wanted a gentleman by the name of Mordecai out of the picture so bad that at the end of the day, it backfired on Haman, and the one who got the brunt in the situation was the one that was scheming to get rid of the individual, such as Mordecai was the one being attacked. Unfortunately, I feel that because I've been deprived of talking to many of you all, and you guys have been deprived of contacting me and hearing my side of the story, unfortunately, I feel the fate of Haman befalls the people involved attacking me. All right, enough said there. Let's look at this first video. By the way, let me interject something before we proceed to these videos regarding setting the record straight. I made a comment in the previous video now pertaining to Straightway Church of Jesus Christ House of Prayer, as well as Faith Cathedral Fellowship, which some of you may be naive to. I was. During my relationship with Straightway. This is why it's important that if I make a statement, I make sure that I back it up with documents. Now, it's interesting because according to the scriptures in Ecclesiasticus, the Apocrypha, I believe is chapter 42, verse 7. Ecclesiasticus 42, verse 7. It says, "Deliver all things in numbers and weight, and put all in writing, that thou givest out or receivest in." There are other scriptures, Habakkuk 2:2 or what have you, that go on about the value of writing things down for the sake of the vision or what have you. But it is very important that at the end of the day, in all your endeavors, according to scripture, not according to what I'm saying or to what anybody else is saying, it is important that you document what you do. I would highly recommend anything that you contribute to that ministry, document it. Listen, don't do it because I'm telling you to do it or suggesting it. I'm basing it based on scripture. Why is that important? Because there are documents that at least the government are very faithful to keeping on record for the sake of no confusion or anything like that. I made comments of what was it? Church of Jesus Christ. The reason I say that is because I'm looking at a document here. It says page 1 of 2, and it's the state of Tennessee comptroller of the treasury in its real estate assessment data. Goes on to talk about the county number, the county Macon, tax year for 2014, property owner and mailing address. Church of Jesus Christ, co-owned by Charles W. Dowell Jr., address 5960 Pumpkin Town Lane, Lafayette, Tennessee, 37083. But then it goes down and it says that the property location, the address is actually Pumpkin Town Lane, 5746. Now that's interesting. You go on and it goes on to show on the bottom of that page, additional description goes on to show you tracks 5 and 6. And then I got another one that actually identifies county number, same county, tax year, the same information, Church of Jesus Christ, House of Prayer, Charles Dowell, 5906 Pumpkin Lane, number 8, Lafayette, Tennessee. There's a distinction in the previous in that they add number 8 on this one. But when it goes to property location, it goes on to say address is Pumpkin Town Lane, 5960. Now, in this one, it goes on to say Pumpkin Lane, 5746, which is cool. I mean, whatever, up the hill, down the hill addresses, that's cool. But what's interesting is that I go down page 1 of 3 and it goes down to additional descriptions on the address Pumpkin Lane 5960. It goes on to say that it's affiliated with Faith Cathedral Fellowship. Now I got another document here in front of me that says R.G. Stairs and Faith Cathedral Fellowship, Inc., a.k.a. Overcoming Ministry. So look up Overcoming Ministry to get an idea which property, this property that I mentioned in Tennessee is affiliated with. They're affiliated with a ministry out in South Carolina, what have you, which is spearheaded by what many know to be Charles Dowell was his mentor. To each his own, but I felt it necessary to share that information with many of you because I was naive to the affiliations when I was affiliated with Straightway. And so Pumpkin Lane 5960 has additional description where it has the ministry, which is owned, operated, and ran by R.G. Stairs. And again, this is no rebuke or anything, not even to R.G. Stairs. I don't know him. As far as I'm concerned, he can be considered a great gentleman. I can only go by what's on document. I have documents here showing that there's an affiliation to this day, according to this document, which I have before me, which actually says tax year 2014. So in other words, my understanding of what I'm seeing there is that, and the reason I confidently mention the names that I mentioned affiliated with him is only because that's what's in black and white. All right. Enough said on that. Let's go on to the video.
All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, sisters of YouTube. I've got a brother. Well, he's not a brother. He's no longer part of the fellowship. And he lives in Florida, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But I notice I've got a few brothers that's come to me, and I notice he's calling around asking a few brothers about doing a job over in the Middle East. Now, I hope that y'all have enough intelligence to actually call me, like a few brothers have already have done, to not get caught up in a situation like this. I just don't understand. I may speak more to it later on, but I hope that y'all exercise some intelligence, since you don't know, you people out there who this man is contacting, you know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about because he's actually trying to contact y'all to try to enlist y'all to be on a team in order to go do a security job over in the Middle East. Don't fall for that stuff. All right, don't fall for it. And I thought I'd make this video because I know that some people, when you start hearing people talk about dollar signs or something like this, that it may
mess your judgment up a little bit. So just take heed to what I'm saying. I may speak on it a little bit more in detail.
Beware of certain calls. Let me address a couple of issues. Dowell goes on to say that I'm no longer a brother. To say that I'm no longer a part of Straightway is correct. I'm no longer acknowledging Dowell as my pastor, and I'm no longer an overseer of the Florida Straightway Saints. So from that perspective, I'm no longer affiliated with you all. However, to go on and say that I'm not a brother, that's like saying, okay, let's look at this. Let's hypothetically say I own a mechanic shop. I hired you to be my mechanic. You're a certified licensed mechanic. We have an indifference, but for whatever reason, you go on and work for somebody else, or you go and open up your own shop. Does that give me the right to say you're no longer a mechanic? No, it does not give me the right. You're still a mechanic. You're just in another shop, whether you own it or work for somebody else, correct? Well, for Dowell to go on and say that I am no longer a brother, it's out of character for a person that is perceived and boasts about the only true prophet here in the country. So, Israel, I trust you're not naive to this. He goes on to say that I went out of my way to reach Yah. He goes on to say I reached a few brothers, but then he goes on to say that I reached Yah. When he makes a statement, Yah, to a crowd of 50, 100, a couple of hundred people that are viewing him, the implication there is that I'm going out and I'm reaching the masses of that organization. Well, I only reached out to two brothers. I reached out to Brother Spinney, out of respect to a commitment I made to him, in that I promised him that when opportunities came, I would reach out to him and let him know about these EP opportunities, for the simple fact that he's been overseas or what have you. And during the time of our dialogue, he was in pursuit of doing something part-time or what have you for additional income. That's number one. Number two, I happened to run across Mike Holland live on Facebook Messenger, and thus offered the invitation to him for an opportunity to do this job if he was interested. So Israel, I only reached out to two people. I didn't reach out to Yah, to the masses, to the several. Proper grammar would have been a brother reached out to a couple of the people after considering it and dialoguing the idea with a few elders, because the counsel of the multitude is where it's at. It's not in the counsel of one man. It's in the Bible says the counsel of the multitude is where you find safety. But anyway, that would have been appropriate. The masses came together, the multitude of the council came together, made a determination for whatever reason they felt was inappropriate of the blessing that I was trying to extend to what I feel were and continue to be brothers in the faith. All right, let's move on.
There's one thing about this particular faith right here. I'm talking about the Hebrew faith. One of the problems that we're having is that people who come over from the religion of Christianity and say that they are believers in His Word, and they refuse to actually embrace the principles of the teachings and actually live after this. I mean, after all, I guess the majority of the people in the world only think the straight way is the one that is charged to, well, we're going to dot every I and cross all the T's. I guess we're the only ones that's charged to do that. Well, anyway, the nature of this video is because I got a man that secretly goes around behind my back and slanders me. And whatever sorry pieces of crap or ears that he can get, he'll speak into them. And what's amazing about it, that there's not one thing about this man that he has no fruit on this tree that anybody will be willing to eat from whatsoever at all. But I think what the appalling part about all this is that all you people who say that you love the Most High, you say you follow the ministry, and yet you will give ear to some garbage and mess like that. And you'll forget about everything that you've ever learned, everything you've ever been taught. You'll forget about the witness, the character, and the nature of the people here at Straightway. So the nature of this video is because I'm giving a warning to all you people out there who choose. Now, you need to make a decision. And none of you have already made your decision. And if you haven't made your decision, I will make your decision for you. There's a man out there by the name of Eric Gonzalez that continues to keep slandering not only my name, but the community name. But
okay, Israel, you just finished viewing the beginning portion of the cutoff. There's a part where he goes on to say that there's a gentleman secretly going behind his back, slandering his name. Let me assure you that that was not the case. As a matter of fact, here's a text that I sent him when he started going around saying that I was slandering his name and the names of others of Straightway. I actually texted them during a live blog talk. Anyway, I'm gonna show you right now what I text him.
But I realize, you know, as you get older, you get a little stubborn or whatever. But I realize how wicked man's heart can be, and I say, man, I eat myself and my thoughts, and how I have to constantly fight myself. Because 1 minute I find myself praising y'all, the next minute something will pop in my head and take me down a whole nother different direction. So I'm constantly on the battlefield with that, and that's a real battlefield because the old man had plenty of time to develop himself over the past 44, 45 years or whatever. So I just want to share that with I feel like I'm shaming the devil by speaking out against him and praising Yah. And I just wanted to share that with all the saints and with you and check on you, see how you're doing. And that's pretty much all I have to say about you.
all right, bless you. Good hearing from you.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Man, I see right now I'm about to give me another cell phone because I got people sending me stupid text messages as if they are a preacher and teacher and got to understand and don't understand nothing. All right, well, whatever. All right, let's go to Texas 979. I wonder why there's somebody who don't believe me to be their pastor. Why in the world they listen to me in the first place? That is stupid as hell. That is dumb. That is so stupid. What are you listening for? If you ain't going, what are you going to look for if you ain't gonna change and be edified? Is that not? Woo, boy. Anyway, I told you this brother must be bipolar or schizophrenic or something. He got some problems.
Okay, Israel, you just finished viewing the text that I sent Dowell when he continued to make allegations that I was slandering him. I gave him an opportunity to publicly share where he thought I was slandering. Matter of fact, as you just noticed, he was live on Blog Talk on October 25th when that text was sent to him. You've seen his demeanor change. Rather than addressing the situation, he just continued to be disrespectful. All right, okay. He goes on to say that immediately after that portion about fruit. Okay, these video series are intended to show the fruit of one's lip. All right. Again, none of us are perfect. All have fallen short of the glory of the Most High. Both he and I and all of us. But at the end of the day, when you're gonna make a cocky statement that there's no fruit on that brother, let's make sure that we're speaking truthful before we boldly make such a statement. Now, that being said, besides the fruit of the lips, let's look at the fruit of our seed. I am extremely honored. That Dowell and many more, but specifically Dowell, has gone on to esteem my household, and when I say my household, I'm referring to my children, to be the epitome of community living. The epitome of community living. As a matter of fact, thank you, Dowell. Thank you, Charles Dowell Jr., for acknowledging that my children, Erica, Ariel, and Gabriel, my children, are the epitome of what you've ever seen in the community lifestyle. You know, at the end of the day, you want to look at the seed of one's fruit, the fruit of one's seed. Look at the children. Thank you, Israel, for all the compliments you've given me throughout my journey with you all while I was there pertaining my children, because it did not only come from Dowell. It came from many of you guys, and I am extremely honored that the recognition was given then. You know, once recognition is given, it could really never be taken back. Once recognition is given, it could really never be taken back, because then you're perceived to be a hypocrite at that point. So,
for the short period of time that Brother Eric has been into this, he has a strong command for the word.
You know, once recognition is given, it could really never be taken back. Once recognition is given, it could really never be taken back, because then you're perceived to be a hypocrite at that point. So, again, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Dowell, for esteeming the children above the children that grew up there, to include your children or what have you. So, again, thank you. Israel, follow his advice. Look at the fruit. Look at the fruit. Look at the fruit. Let's continue.
Name, but I'm not even really in the picture. He slanders the name of his ex-wife. He slanders the name of his children. He continues to paint a picture. You know, how many times I got to tell you, people, there are two sides to every story.
Notice how he goes on to say that there's two sides to every story. Yeah, you all been deprived of hearing from me, so all of a sudden now there's two sides of stories of what I have to say. I'm very transparent, as I've previously said. Please, let's open up, that those out there that are struggling with similar situations may be edified. See, the objective of a trial is you go through it, conquer it in Christ, that at the end of the day, those that are going through it can look at you and continue the fight and not give up. So for the individual, I'm letting all Israel know, at least those affiliated with Straightway, that thou has the permission to share where I've slandered him with evidence. Because as you can read the scriptures out of context, you can also say a story out of context. So please facilitate the evidence as I'm currently doing throughout the series.
And just because somebody come and dump in your ear, you're hearing one side, and chances are when you're hearing that side, you're hearing a very tainted viewpoint. And you don't have a need to know, nor do you have a right to actually peer into everybody else's life, because we all don't live in glass houses. You have to understand, when people are very prideful and very envious, and their so-called little character is hurt, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to act like that they're concerned, but then they're going to fill you full of poison. And then I'm telling you, the question is why are you sitting there listening to it? And if you choose to listen to this dog of a pig by the name of Eric Gonzalez, you go ahead and do it. But don't come back here to Straightway, and don't fellowship with anybody. And I'm sending a warning throughout all of the community to those of you who are part of Straightway, whether you be here or whether you be scattered abroad throughout the states or the world. If you pick and choose to fellowship with that pig, that dog, you do it by your own accord and own apparel. Now, Romans 16:17 says, now I beseech you, brethren, that you mark them that cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which you have learned, and do what? Avoid them.
All right. Continuing this cutoff video, let's consider what follows. Dow goes on to say that anybody affiliated with Eric, he's going to help them make the decision of pretty much cutting them off if he's aware in any fashion that they're remaining in contact with me. Now, that is definitely the spirit of a wicked Pharaoh. So for you all to accept this, let me share something here on this. The government gives that a people may remain bound, basically. In other words, they have government assistance and they're willing to sacrifice their freedom for the sake of what's being given to them. Why do I say that? You guys got to be careful that because Dowell gives you guys fiat currency or what have you when you guys take trips up there and little things like that, that you don't sacrifice kingdom principles because of the handout. That's very important. Make sure that that's not happening. Anyway, let's go on and let's consider what he goes on to say. Well, I'm slandering him. He reiterates that. He says that I'm slandering my ex-wife. And then he goes on to say that I'm slandering my children. Listen, you guys already seen the text. I already gave him the liberty to speak of such slander. What am I saying? What have I said? What am I saying? What have I said? Please feel free. Remember, slander is a lie. Please share the lie that I've stated regarding you, my ex-wife, and my children. Now, people understand this. When a leader as such goes out of his way to make such statements and records it and puts a forewarning, basically what happens is he's estranging the children from a father. That's demonic. That is demonic. To estrange a family, children from a father, a Hebrew father at that. So, Israel, y'all need to wake up. Y'all need to wake up and quit being yes people, yes men and yes women. Use self-autonomy as he himself advises you, and stop allowing the momentary pleasure of what could be a potential gift, putting you in a position to compromise kingdom principles. Let's move on.
So I get this guy because, we had a judgment, myself and the elders. The Bible does talk about elders, and we heard both sides of the story, and we came to a conclusion and decision.
Okay, Israel, this is one of the most interesting parts of this video that I want you guys to zone in on. Bible goes on to say that a judgment was made with him and the elders. Now, during the season of this gathering, I understand that there were several elders that were ordained by DOWELL, which were, you had, I believe, Rufus was an elder, remains an elder, I'm not sure. Joe Pena was an elder, I believe he remains as one as well. And you had Donnie, who was, and I believe remains an elder to this day. Okay. Now, Bible goes on to say that he and the elders made a judgment. Now, when I had that sit down with DOWELL, he was present, and Doug Becker was present, who was at the time, to my understanding, an elder. So yeah, there was an elder present. But the fact that he goes on to say that there were elders, okay, I want Israel to contact Rufus, Pena, and Donnie and ask them if they were present, if not, if they were on a conference call, because at the end of the day, they weren't present, there were not elders present. However, there was Brother Mitchell was on the land, and the reason I mentioned Brother Mitchell is because Brother Mitchell is an overseer of the Texas Saints. Now, to my understanding, that's a form of an elder because I operated in the same capacity when I was overseeing the Florida Straightway Saints. So, I would like for you to also ask Brother Mitchell, being that he was on the land during this gathering and meeting, if he was present or on a cell phone conference call or something. The answer is no. Israel, the answer is no. So for DOWELL to go on and say that a judgment was made by him, excluding himself, and then elders, plural. Listen, I'm not just saying this. Again, please ask Rufus, Pena, and Donnie if they were present, if they were on a conference call, or even aware of such a meeting when this occurred. Ask Brother Mitchell. And once you come to a conclusion there, if that doesn't wake up Israel that's following straightway to see the spirit behind the what they call him, one of the only true prophets in our society of this time, you're definitely walking in the spirit of Christianity, and that you're going by what people say and not by what the word. Don't get caught up just because you call yourself a Hebrew Israelite, that you're a Hebrew Israelite and you're doing life like you did when you were in Christianity. All right? Ponder on that. We'll continue.
And that has nothing to do with you whatsoever at all. You ever heard of mind your own business? And before we started that meeting, and after we got finished with that meeting, we had all agreed, according to character, honor, and integrity, that no matter what is said inside of this meeting, it stays in this meeting. It's called confidence. But this man has continually breached that confidence. This man has showed that he has not even the spirit of Yah working in his little wicked, dark heart. Not to do what he's doing.
Okay, Israel. Dawah goes on to talk about confidentiality and how I breached the confidence of the ministry or what have you. Let me just say this. From the get-go, I wanted it to be known what Nelly's desires were as far as the divorce. Even that following blog talk, I had suggested to Dawah, as he was returning from town, and we were up the hill, finishing up or working on the gym / extra room that was being built up there. He stopped in on us. We spoke a little bit of what have you, and he and I privately spoke next to his vehicle. And I said, listen, why don't we just, this coming blog talk, I think it was happened to be that actual day, put Nelly and I in front, and let Nelly and I share with the community about our request to divorce. Now, my intent initially was to say, you know what, I love Dawah, I love the ministry or what have you. For the intent of protecting the integrity of the ministry, let Israel know that based on our past or what have you like that, keeping Dawah and the ministry afloat so that the attention could be put on us. Now, the reason I took that approach was because I've always had the heart of an armor bearer to protect the integrity of those that I served in such capacity, whether serving them, armor bearer, what have you. I just had that in my heart from the get. Now, he didn't want to do that. Now, during that same conversation, I told him, look, I can't go back to Florida and not let these people know and lie to them. So he released me to speak to them, which I was excited. I felt like a weight was taken off of me. During the week, I was dialoguing back and forth with a brother JC, who I left in charge of the Florida Straightway Saints during my departure to Tennessee. And I was dialoguing with them and by way of messenger or text or what have you. And I remember telling guys, there's some issues being addressed up here. I'm not going to say nothing until I get back. However, pray, stick to the word, and even fast. Take a day of the week and even fast, because the situation is serious and it can shake Israel. At the end of the day, that was the advice given to the Florida Straightway Saints, specifically Brother JC. Then, by the time I leave the land or what have you, and the following week that I show up to Florida Straightway Saints, Dawah had intervened that request during the week and pretty much blasted me and told him that don't allow me to speak because he couldn't trust what I was going to say. And so that's how that all came about. So from the get-go, just know this. I wanted it to be known as far as the request of, Nelly, being that we were a third party marriage because the government was involved, it was not considered a legit marriage. It was considered to him an adulterous union because we didn't do it biblically according to the Hebrew standard, which was strictly a Hebrew pastor, what have you. But because they were involved, the government, it was adulterous, and I think that's the ultimate approach that they took. So to find justification in authorizing the separation a study that he claims that he'd been working on for several years, but never really touched on it. But again, he was going to touch on it during this newsletter that was supposed to be coming out. All right, so just to bring a little bit clarity on that note, with regards to keeping things confidential. All right, let's proceed.
And, you know, the Bible also says, I want you to hear this about Timothy, and these things give charge, that they may be blameless. But if any provide for, now look at this, not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. You hear that? He has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. So that means that these, an infidel is one that is incredulous, one that is without trust, unfaithful, and unbeliever. If a man can't take care of his own house, if he's abandoning his house, if he's abusing his house, if he's neglecting his house, if he's denying his house.
Now Dowell goes on to start ranting about abandoning my household, neglecting my household, abusing my household, or what have you. Let's see where he's coming from. Abandonment. Where are we talking about? When I left to Ohio and my family stayed behind, I was generating $10,000 a month, which was direct deposit into the account which she had access to. That's one. Number two, when I went to Afghanistan, just shy of that, maybe about $8,000 and change a month, direct deposit into the account. Abandonment. When we started logging into Straightway, Nelly decided she wanted to leave. And so we concluded Puerto Rico for whatever reason. Wasn't necessarily my desire, but nonetheless to step out in faith. We attempted that. She was over there 2 months. I then went for 2 months. Upon my return, she stayed for 2 months, and then we wound up in Tennessee. In Tennessee, I asked Dowell. Actually, I think I have the transcripts there, where I emailed him, telling him that the server that I had, I will make it all available to him if he would help me out by keeping her from going back to the island, being that we didn't want the whole city life. So upon one of our trips, our second trip up there, he agreed to it. So now, while they're up there, I'm trying to figure out where the abandonment comes in. At that time, it was approximately $600+ worth of silver I gave on that trip. Then I went on to visit periodically and always try to bring something. On one of those trips, I brought $1,600 worth of silver. I took 50 ounces of silver. And I gave, in between, I would give Nelly some cash or what have you. I also left Nelly with a half a tube, about 10 to 12 ounces of silver. And in between, I would try to send cash here and there. Mind you, I'm trying to do life here while we sell the property. So I'm curious to know when they say abandonment, where they're coming from. Please ask them. Where? Listen, Israel, you have the permission, my permission, to ask where has Eric been found guilty of such allegations made to him. So, unfortunately, I wasn't brought up with a silver spoon in my mouth. So, you know, both household, Nelly's parents and my background, we come from very poverty-stricken background, but that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, I did my part as far as to the degree that I could. So, I'm curious to know, when they stress abandonment, what position they're coming from. All right, let's proceed.
How are you going to take care of the household of y'all? How is that going to happen? Oh, I mean, we all try to give people the benefit of the doubt and stuff, but I will tell you this, Eric Gonzalez, you're not allowed ever to step foot back again on this land here at Straightway, ever again. And I hope that you can take this warning. I hope you can, and be a very wise man, because there's one man definitely ain't playing. There's this one sitting in front of us.
The Bible goes on to make a threat that if I know any better, I will not go over there now. when we had spoken, I made it very adamant in that sit down that there was no man that was going to keep me from visiting my children. I was very adamant to stand my ground on that. We had no contention then when they seen how serious I was about that. When I go on to Florida and we have a conference call, I go on to address and let it be known that as long as my children remain on that property and that road that goes down to their property remains public, I will definitely be going to the front door to pick up my children. Shortly thereafter, I received from Macon County a certified letter of a protective order. Now, following that protective order, there were allegations made against me, unfounded allegations made that justify the system to put a protective order, temporary protective order from currently seeing my children. So for Dowell to go on and say that I better not come over there, he's basing that on the fact that they, referring to Nelly, including him, ran to the system rather than keeping the confidence in the Most High, ran to the system to keep me from going over there, as I had planned to do so between Tabernacle and Goss, which actually was an agreement that was made prior to my departing the land. So for him to go on and act like Superman behind the camera, listen, at the end of the day, let me reiterate, there's a protective order brought to my attention making allegations. Now, I'm unfortunately, I'm going to have to address this allegation situation right now. Besides what is documented in where the significant other makes allegations that she's been sexually abused and abbreviates rape in the allegation in South Florida, then it's brought to my attention by others, specifically one other, that she's going around causing people to believe that we live the lifestyle contrary to her will. Let me admit something at this point. Yes, Nelly did come to me one day and say that she felt raped. Yes, people, Israel, she felt raped. I'm going to admit that 100%. Hear me out. She admitted to me that she felt as she was raped. However, when she brought this to my attention that she felt violated and raped, I kind of, knowing her history, knowing our history, I kind of had reservations of the statement. I sincerely had reservations. Sat down with her, spoke to her, what have you. And lo and behold, I was correct. Unfortunately, the rape allegation wasn't with Eric Gonzalez. My name is Eric. E-R-I-C. Eric, E-R-I-C. When the allegation was brought to my attention by Nelly, it was brought to me indicating an individual by the name of Jeff. Now, Jeff and Eric are two different spellings. Jeff, J-E-F-F. J-E-F-F, Jeff. Now, that was brought to my attention. Now, the reason I doubted it was because this is an individual that she found herself constantly fellowshipping with while she would spend time at her mother's home, not too far from where we lived at. She was so adamant about this individual that she wanted me to mentor this individual because she found him to be so fond. Now, when this allegation of rape occurs with, again, Jeff, J-E-F-F, I have reservations, which were later confirmed. How were they confirmed? She went on to have a sexual relationship with this individual that exceeded a year. Now, at the end of the day, I want everybody to know this. Nelly and I, none of us are innocent. We all fall short of the glory that I've said it. Whether it be me, her, dog, it doesn't matter. I endured it. I dealt with it for the sake of protecting the integrity of my children. However, at this point, when I got documents claiming rape, then unfortunately, unless I speak up and share, you all will be deceived and led astray because the manipulation that's happening behind closed doors. Again, like I told you from the get-go, people, I am very transparent. Why? Because at the end of the day, our testimonies, our trials and tribulations are for testimony purposes. Testimony to positively influence those that have an ear to hear.
See, you slander secretly. You go behind my back secretly. You go behind your ex-wife's back secretly. And you are going to reveal all the secrets of your marriage, so-called, to a bunch of fools that will sit and listen to you. All for the purpose so that they can get out of the faith. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing and providing forth a warning to all you people out there. If you choose to listen to him, don't come back over here because it will get back to me. And if I hear that you've been listening to this venomous snake, this dog of a serpent, don't worry about it. I'm going to cut you off myself just in order to preserve the whole. Because you can do all that mess and junk and garbage out of Christianity. Don't bring that mess over here. Don't bring it. Now, if you do bring it over here, I will find out. Because I had a faithful brother tell me everything. Not only that, I already knew in the first place because I began to tell them. Look at Proverbs 31:13. For I've heard the slander of many. Fear was on every side while they took counsel against me. They devised to take away my life. All this whispering, all this defaming, all this evil report. And the man has only been on his land, what, 2 times? I think 2 times. 2 times, that's it.
Again, Israel, I need y'all to keen in on this point right now. Dowell goes on to say that I've been there 2 times. 2 times. Now, let's break it down. The first time I went there was the weekend of February 24, 2012. That was the time that the 3-hour and 10-minute blog talk occurred where he and I along each other's side. The second time that I went there was when it was 2012, I think GOTS or what have you, 2012 GOTS. The third time, that was the time that actually Nelly and the family stayed there. The third time had to do with Tabernacles that same year, which I left and came back, spent the atonement in Miami, and then wound up going back and spending Tabernacles there at Straitway. That's the third time. In between, after the third time that I went there, Nelly was brought to me when we went to when Dowell spoke in Georgia, Wichita, Georgia, something like that. She was brought to me. Actually, she was brought to me after Sam, his biological brother, apparently disrespected her by embracing her, what have you, inappropriately, whatever, and Dowell felt the need to remove him from the community for such action. Now, mind you, that was something that was brought to my attention after the fact by Nelly. Dowell never had the courtesy to advise me of that situation until I questioned him about his brother's departure, at which time he clarified that situation for me, which is when I actually came to understand what actually happened, and then Nelly went on to clarify further. Now, 3 times that I visited up there, and then the 4th time that I saw her was she was actually brought to me. Now, my 4th visit over there had to do with Passover 2013. The 5th time that I went up there was July 2013. That was the last time, which was the time that Nelly requested the separation. Now, if you notice, Dowell was very adamant to stress that I only been there 2 times, only been there 2 times, only been there 2 times. Yet, witnesses can tell you that I've been up there a lot longer. So, when evidence is so obvious that a lie has deliberately been made, you know, you have to ask yourself, how far are you willing to go, or at what point are you, Israel, are willing to draw the line and say, wait a minute, you know, our leader is leading us astray, deceiving us, lying to us, or what have you. So something to really take into consideration. All right, let's continue.
And you people need to start minding your own business out there that has nothing to do with you whatsoever at all. Because you're going to find yourself in somebody else's business, and you're going to find yourself on the other end of this cutoff as well. Now, I want to read something. I'm going to read something right here. If I can find it. I want you to see what this book says right here. Listen to this right here. I'm going to read the Apocrypha and Ecclesiasticus. And it says, the envious man hath a wicked eye, and turneth away his face, and despises man. A covetous man is not satisfied with his portion, and the iniquity of the wicked drieth up the soul. You hear that? So the Apocrypha also goes on to say that an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. Notice how the enemy speaks. He speaketh sweetly with his lips. But in his heart, he imagined how to overthrow thee into the pit, and he will weep with his eyes. But if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. Y'all get that? That is what an enemy will do. Now, I want y'all to understand something. Everybody in this world, there's not one just man or one just woman that walketh on this earth that doeth good and sinneth not. Not a one. But I tell you, when you start looking at fruit, the fruit on people, trees and stuff, it's undeniable who's in the faith and who's not of the faith. And I'm going to tell you right now that this slanderer, this accuser, and this low-down pig of a dog, this coward who slanders and defames the name of his family and ex-family.
All right, people. You go on to see what Dow emphasized. He's making it his business to emphasize ex-family or what have you. I worked at the prison for many years, approximately 11 years. And I dealt with a lot of convicts, and throughout, months and years of dealing with the same convict, you tend to learn and know about certain things. But I can tell you that Dowell's actions, I can find more integrous convicts that are in prison for having contentions with their spouses that have more integrity than what this guy's trying to display. When you go out of your way to estrange minors from their biological father, who remains adamant in the faith, though not in the ministry, but in the faith, the motives at the end of the day need to be questioned. Dowell goes on to emphasize how spiritual Straightway is and how holier than thou the citizens there on the community are compared to the nation abroad, and that's why they're there. So for this individual to go on and emphasize how spiritual mature, they are up there, but yet act worse than a convict. People, wake up.
And me. You do it secretly, but I'm doing it openly. And I'm sending a warning out to all Israel. You pick and choose to listen to this fool. Do it at your own apparel. Don't come back around here straightway no more. You can do that mess in other religions and Christianity. You ain't going to do it over here. And that's the truth. And that's the truth straightway. So Eric Gonzalez, let this be a clear warning to everybody out there. He is cut off from Israel concerning straightway. You're going to do whatever the hell you're going to keep doing because you're going to do it anyway. That's all there is to it. But my concern is for all you weak-minded so-called saints out there that will sit and listen to some mess like that. I suppose if I could actually get a bunch of people start calling me up and telling me about some of the whoremongering and some of the sinful lifestyles that many of you lived in the past and still live until today. Now, maybe I need to get a bunch of people start coming and getting in my ear. Then I make judgments and not even hear your side. Maybe that's what I should do, huh? All you people out there act like you are so interested when you're just nosy and meddling in the other people's affairs. And you haven't got nothing. You can't even take care of your own house. You can't take care of your own spirit life. You're going to sit there and meddle in other people's affairs. You need to start questioning your spirit out there, what type of person you are. Because remember, there are two sides to every story. And why sit up there and listen to one side and then be evilly affected in your mind and get all discombobulated and discombobulated because you hear a slander, an evil report? Who told you that was the truth? Because the truth is, you're going to come up with somebody who's spiritual like us here, and you're going to question us about what somebody else said, and I'm going to blast your rear end. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to start questioning your integrity of your little sorry wicked.
Elaborate further on this spiritual maturity that Dowell goes on to elaborate on that. he and the saints up there have. When I was in Tennessee this last visit, he emphasized to me how spiritual the saints up there were with regards to me questioning him. The privacy of our situation, and that he kept insisting on that it remained quiet and private until the newsletter came out, because he felt Israel wasn't ready for this. And so that in part was why he didn't want me to say anything, and everything was to remain confidential, because he didn't know how to pretty much go about letting it be known. So in the midst of this whole spiritual maturity conversation, one of the reasons that I was inspired to do the postcard that I did, emphasizing the Reebok poster that I did, was based on the fact that Dabo will go on to say, or actually told me how, the Nike products are not allowed based on the goddess, Nike goddess. And the reason that came up was because when I got there, my son was wearing a pair of Air Jordans. You're at liberty. His father's telling you, you're at liberty to ask him. And I told him, son, don't wear those. I have my convictions or what have you pertaining to paganism, considering they're made by Nike. The brother had the audacity to push the blame on Brother Shane as the one responsible for bringing that education of what's inappropriate images or what have you. And he was unaware that Jordan, mind you, Jordan he's in a pyramid position, and therefore, made by Nike. So he would go on to say that he didn't know that there was anything wrong with Jordans or anything like that, but yet emphasize the pagan roots of Nike. At the end of the day, I questioned the level of maturity. During that last visit, my son emphasized how he was still surprised how there are many on the land. Let me specify, several on the land who watch, movies almost every night. Some listen to secular music often. So again, to each his own. You can do whatever you like or what have you. But again, when you're pointing fingers and trying to make yourself to be holier than thou than the rest of the nation, see the scriptures in Deuteronomy 6, starting through verse 4, 5, 6, 7, it goes on to tell you about, the law is about day in and day out. Wake up, go to sleep. This is what it's all about. That's what I would consider, spiritual individual. But now that will go on and say, oh no, but, I don't micromanage the community, everybody. But yet he's going to boast about how spiritual, they are there on the land. But yet when it's convenient, he'll emphasize how he doesn't micromanage them. A lot of hypocrisy. A lot of hypocrisy at the end of the day when you're dealing with levels of maturity. Anyway.
See, this is the way that it should be done. See, Pastor Don ain't got to worry about how people are going to receive this or reject this, because I could care less, because I'm interested in doing what the book says. That's all there's to it. Let me end on this. Proverbs 10:18. He that hateth hatred with lying lips, and that uttereth a slanderer, is a fool. So Eric Gonzalez, you are a flat out fool. You little sorry, two-faced coward. You talk all that mess to all these other people behind the scenes and think that I've been hearing it ever since the day you left. And just because I hadn't said anything doesn't mean I don't understand and know what's going on. And I tell you what, if I hear of anybody at Straightway or any of the saints outside of Straightway who claim to be of Straightway that's listening to this slander, this fool right here, I'm going to cut you off. And I'm going to make a video about you as well. Everybody makes videos about me all the time. And when you get finished with it, it's nothing but theater and noise. Accusation, nothing that sticks. Pastor Dow is going to start bringing forth the hammer and the sword and showing you people how to really cut off dogs, devils, and pigs. That's the truth. That's the truth, straight away. I hope that you all have a nice, wonderful day. The King coming.
Trust you guys got something out of this series thus far. and we shall continue as we concluded with the video coverage he did titled The Name.
All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is for YouTube. This is Pastor Dowell. And, of course, I have to make this video real quick because, we have some devils out there that's trying to do all type of damage. And his name is Eric Gonzalez. He's trying to do all type of damage. First of all, to the people of the Most High out there. I want y'all to remember something. There are two sides to every story, two sides. And there is a reason why that his family chooses not to have anything to do with him. You don't need to know all the history and stuff. He may choose to disclose his side of it, but the family here has a little bit more honor and integrity than that. And so with that said, we don't live, at least us Hebrews, in a system of bribery. We don't function like that. We don't do like that. But I'll tell you one thing, it's pretty sad that when a father agrees to that he can't rejoice in a daughter which is the most wonderful time of her life. I mean, a young damsel is getting ready to get betrothed, get married.
All right, Israel. We're going to try to see how fast we can get through this the name video to bring clarity. This one is an interesting topic in that it was inspired by the hidden engagement that occurred between Erica and Brother Mitchell over there, in Texas. First of all, he goes on to stress in this video about two sides of every story, and that you don't need to know the history and stuff. As far as I'm concerned, Israel, I'm fine with you all knowing the history and stuff because that's how we all grow from this. There are a lot of you guys out there that are being challenged by different issues that life throws at you, and I trust my history is not the only unique situation on hand. I trust that there are people out there going through marital issues and things like that, and so I don't have a problem. Israel, I do not have a problem about sharing my indiscretions, our nakedness. I have no problems with that. At the end of the day, it makes a good book. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because it's about trials, tribulations, and testimonies for the edification of those that we could come in contact with and impact. So as far as knowing our history, you're more than welcome to know it if you ask me. Dowell goes on to emphasize that a father that agrees to agree that he can't rejoice of his daughter wonderful time. I mean, the damsel's about to get married, betrothed, or what have you. Let me elaborate on this a little bit. Both Erica and Mitchell were spoken to privately, and I shared with both of them that according to Tobit chapter 7, verses 13, 14, 15, where it talks about certificate of marriage, it is the father, it is the father, it is the father. Rewind, it is the father, it is the father. It is the father who makes this happen, not a man claiming to be a father, a pastor, or any other title that you want to put that. At the end of the day, in a Hebrew household, it is the father that gives the certificate of marriage, at which time I advise both Mitchell and that Dowell will not marry them. That's not biblical, and that I would be the one if I chose to go that route. Now understand, Israel, they've made decisions to do things behind the back of their father, as far as Erica's father. And the fact that they decided to do things behind my back, there is no blessing on the situation. I love my daughter, but I can't, we're not going to contradict scripture for the sake of, oh, that's my daughter, I should love her through this and everything like that. I love my daughter, but the decisions that she's making as an 18-year-old, which is an adult, according to the system, for her not to make the appropriate contacts with me to discuss and work out these arrangements, which we agreed upon, and she accepted it, that unless her father, that's me, that unless her father gave the green light, she wouldn't do it. And as of this point right now, Israel, based on the way that this is unfolding, understand that my blessing is not on that. Now, that I have to stress that because I've gotten a couple of phone calls from people confused with Mitch saying that they got my blessing
that Mitch got my blessing with Pastor Mary, that I brought this to them, when in reality, this was something thrown on me by Dowell. And again, based on the way this is unfolding, my blessing is not on this right now. Now, obviously, as adults, they can go on and do whatever they want. But let's bring clarity. When it comes to scripture, a lot of times when the blessings are removed, you have barrenness, you have issues with even in the life of Toby, where the previous husbands, there was fatalities or what have you in the marriage chambers or what have you. So these are the unfortunate outcomes when a blessing is not there. Israel, as of right now, understand, know it from me, that Erica Gonzalez's father, which is God's delegated authority over her life, not Dowell or anybody else, is not in agreement with the way this went down. As I shared my discomforts in the beginning, with Dowell's intervention of all of this stuff. So at the end of the day, Israel, you hear from me, you see me in this video, and unfortunately for those involved, as of right now, I'm not blessing the situation. Again, if I was not a Hebrew, I can applaud and say, well, it wouldn't really matter. But at this point, I'm a very active Hebrew Israelite, keeping the commandments, striving on a day-to-day basis to achieve understanding according to scriptures. All right, let's continue.
And you mean to tell me that we're so bitter, we have so much sour grapes, and we're so vindictive and angry and mad simply because your wife rejects you based on your past? I don't blame any woman. You know, no woman, and that's the reason why I keep telling you in the Hebrew faith, people have a right, you know what I mean, to let the oppressed go free. Most people are totally inept to answer marriage and divorce and remarriage questions because they don't know the Torah, they don't know the scriptures. But a woman has a right to not be verbally abused, physically abused, abandoned, deserted, and left. I mean, and just desert. I mean, just totally left. And you know, when you come across the truth and stuff, and since the Most High does let the oppressed go free, we thank Yah for the freedom of our sisters. But anyway, we're rejoicing. But my advice to many of you people out there, if you choose to tour around and play around in the arena, because the one thing about devils is, if you ever notice, devils just don't go away, okay, because they're too busy being a devil, if you understand what I mean. They just don't go away. They ain't going to go away. But, you know, at least one thing about it, he gets an opportunity to monetarily support his family since he hadn't been doing that before. Sometimes you got to use the law of land to make him to do the things that, and that's a sad, sad thing, to make people do what they should have been doing all this time rather than abandon them and deserting them. But, you know, you're not going to ever hear that side of the story. Usually when people are hurt and feelings and emotions and stuff, you know what they usually do? They play victim. And then they try to get everybody else who is emotionally inclined, who doesn't know all the facts. And there's no need for you to know all the facts. But doesn't know all the facts and stuff. They try to garner favor with you in order to get you over to their side and perspective and stuff. And it's sad. It's almost even sad that we have to do this. But I promise you one thing about this, though. In reference to this situation, we're going to turn the page and move on. We're going to let the system go ahead and run its course, what it needs to do. And we don't have time for gymnastics, circus.
All right, Israel. Let's address this past issue. Pastor Dowell goes on to say that I no longer, or Nelly no longer wants to be with me based on my past. So he's making emphasis on my past. Obviously, we all have a past. Let me just say this about our past. Nelly and I have both given each other reason to walk away based on our past from a biblical perspective. Fornication, adultery, whatever you want to call it. However, in Christianity, we conquered those demons and those challenges, and we were on the mountaintop when it came to those challenges that all of a sudden are coming up again. That's number one. As far as I'm concerned, as far as the past, I believe in our immediate past, meaning the time she was she's been up in Tennessee, and I've been over here trying to do what we agreed upon, get rid of the house so I can relocate. Nelly has been given a lot of favor that another man's woman shouldn't get from another man. For example, she became the sister he never had. Besides that, when he would leave, she would be the only one authorized to care for the residents and spend the night there while they were gone because nobody else was trustworthy of that. She was allowed to drive the Chrysler that at the time nobody was allowed to drive other than his wife. But all of a sudden, she became the second person other than his wife to be allowed to drive the to drive that vehicle. I understand that she has a new vehicle now, a white SUV or whatever. Just undeniable respect of persons within those relationships that obviously is going to make everybody question a husband, surrounding members. These are the type of things that we need to be aware of and wake up to, because that reality is inappropriate, is out of character for a leader in a ministry that again, and I'll say it again and again, a pastor that claims to be one of the only true, leaders of our era. So, at the end of the day, you ask me, I'm going to tell you, that's what I will tell you as far as a major factor in why she refuses to come back. Again, we'll talk about money. Money was talked over and over. Listen, I got documents showing, besides what I posted, of money that I've sent to them. So this abandonment, again, is all a scheme, so they can get the divorce that they're looking for, so that they can, continue to live life as they've been pursuing to do, in whether in polygamy lifestyle, what have you, and to each his own. Again, Nelly's a grown woman; she can do whatever she wants. My concern at the end of the day becomes the children. So the whole full custody and everything, that I'm not having that. The request for full custody, child support, alimony, all that stuff. At the end of the day, taking that approach, it confirms how money hungry Dowell is. Well, he will allow a marriage to be destroyed for the sake of securing his little nest. So that's basically where we're at with that. I mean, let's just keep it very transparent at the end of the day. That's what it's all about. Let us keep it very transparent. All right, we'll talk.
But I will say this: if you're a part of the fellowship, any way, shape, fashion, or form, whether you be a straightway or abroad, and if you choose to continue to respond, fellowship, and react to somebody who we have solely rejected, because the Bible teaches after first and second admonition, you reject. If the Bible talks about people who are heretics and who are infidels, and those are those who don't even provide for their own house. And especially when your character and nature is in deep, sincere question and stuff, the last thing we need to be doing is out there trying to, get people to try to see what we call our side of the story. You can't do nothing with a schizophrenic mindset. That's just a fact. But if you people out there choose to continue to keep fellowshipping with him, have fellowship, I'm going to tell you this. Pastor Dowell's not going to draw a line in the sand. I'm drawing a line in the concrete. If I personally hear that you're fellowshipping with him and it gets back to me and stuff, you're going to stay over there with him. Because the one thing about it, these so-called appointed and self-anointed preachers and teachers and so-called elders who try to put themselves in the seat of Moses, the Most High God hadn't called them. Remember what the acid test of the word says is, by their fruit you shall know them. And you need to know people by their fruit. But anyway, we're ecstatic and elated and excited for Brother Mitchell and Sister Erica. We really, truly excited for their betrothal. And we want you to be excited for them as well. And for that, we're going to turn the page on this, close the book on this particular chapter right here, and go forth in power and authority and strength. But Pastor Dowell means what he says. I guarantee it. You're not going to be a part of the fellowship here, toying around and eating off other tables, and bringing slander, deceit, gossip, talebearing, lying, and every other treacherous way over into this, because myself and the elders are set for the defense of the gospel. We're set for the defense of the people. As a pastor, I fully embrace it, and I accept it that people are going to misrepresent me. They're going to lie on me. They're going to do everything they can to tear me down. But the one thing you cannot argue against is fruit. You can't argue against my fruit. You can't argue against what you see being produced. Let's see if some of these other people can put their life out here on display, and let's see what they're all about. That way you can make an adjustment. But it's amazing how a lot of these people who do this so-called attacking and stuff, it's amazing how you know nothing about them. But yet and still, they sit in Moses' seat as if they're judges. And, of course, since their judgment don't mean nothing to us, because they're not even part of the fellowship. They're not even part of Israel, as far as we're concerned. But, hey, we're doing good. We're being happy, and we're moving on. The reason why I'm making this video is because I know a lot of you people of unsuspecting minds and stuff, most of us still operating after Gentile mentality. You need to understand. You need to reserve your spirituality. There's always been men that rise up, speak evil in order to draw you away. That's the whole idea, to draw you away. And some of you have been drawn away. Charles Asareka. So you're going to have to understand something, sir. And this is what you need to understand. This ain't Christianity 101. And it's not, if I tell you something, brother, and if you're going to be a part of this ministry, you need to actually act like you're a part of it. And so since you couldn't display that type of character and attitude, and you chose to actually go that way, don't try to come over here and so-called fellowship with us or want to get in my face. You wait till I'll get a clearance to see if I want to accept you back in the fellowship, because we can't have a strong Israelite community with weak men. It's impossible. So you let me pray, let me get a clearance, let me get my heart right if there's something wrong with it before I decide to actually choose to accept you back into our fellowship, because we're not playing games.
All right, Israel, we're going to try to conclude at least the main portion of this series. As I go on to analyze and look and consider the conclusion of it, he goes on to kind of repeat himself somewhat, with the exception he talks about drawing the line not in sand but in concrete, obviously showing you all how adamant he is about his decision towards another brother. He goes on to elaborate on the fact that he does, if I'm even a part of Israel, which I think I've already made my point with you all to bring clarity and understanding there. But my biggest disappointment in this video, away from me, is his attack on another brother, such as he did with Brother Charles out of Texas. At the end of the day, if you have a problem with a brother, y'all should try to hash it out, do whatever you can. But if a contention occurs and there's a separation, the separation is with the individual, not with the family at large. Israel goes way beyond the four walls of the straightway community. And so for a brother to go on and say that because he's no longer acknowledged as a member, to go on and stress that he's no longer part of the nation and therefore you shouldn't fellowship with him, again, is control, is mind control, and for you that remain adamant with him, so be it, and do what you must. But again, it's dangerous, and at the end of the day, this is no longer your family members that have no understanding of the truth telling you this. This is a fellow Hebrew brother from a different camp, letting it be known that when you got brothers controlling to that degree, they go beyond God, and that not even God himself would create such control, considering he has given us the power of choice and will.
With this, it's amazing. Vagabond Jews are people who church hop, who always go around from one place to another. And I told you, if somebody leaves something, have you ever known anybody to leave anything and ever have anything good to say about it? I've never in my life. So those of you that are Israelites, don't worry, be happy. I feel like maybe singing my song again, but I had the children tell me, please don't sing, Pastor. Now, I can actually sing when I want to, different ways and stuff. But, I have to try to bring some joy in the midst of all of this chaos right here. But anyway, I don't have time for Facebooking. I'm finna go book out here and get to work again as I normally do. That's where these hands come from. These are working hands right here. We don't have, that's where all these calluses and everything come from. We don't have time to sit behind no computer and stuff and gossip and slander and talebear and backbite. I got work to do. And that's what a lot of you men should be doing. Instead of having all this time on your hand, you should be out there getting some work done. And that's the truth. But anyway, y'all have a wonderful day. King's coming. I'll see y'all later. All right. Have a good day.
So, Israel, I want you all to know that, I understand the pressure that you're under. Obviously, there are some that are more courageous than others and who will reach out or what have you. But whether you're in the courageous side or you lack that courage, I want you to all understand and know from the bottom of my heart, I have no problems with you all. As far as I'm concerned, you guys, I perceive you guys as Hebrew brothers in the faith. If there's anything I could do for you, I would definitely do it for you. You all that continue to keep in contact with me and fellowship, obviously you know that, but those that are out there and remain hesitant and caution based on the manipulation of Dowell, that's understandable. At the end of the day, every lion has his day, and I wish Dowell the best. But I truly say this: if repentance is not a factor in all of us, it's going to be an unfortunate, sad ending. Let me go on to say this, Charles Dowell. I don't perceive you as a pastor, my pastor, but I do perceive you as a brother. And therefore, I just pray that you won't allow pride. You know, you're quick to say how everybody else is prideful. That you don't allow pride to get the best of you, as it got Pharaoh. That's an advice that I would give you, and I will hope that you would heed to. You know, at the end of the day, Israel, remember this is not a invisible individual. It's, you know, he's not Superman. That's all Hollywood. Several months ago, as you all recall, he was bedridden, and while sickness and disease is promoted as a lack of commandment keeping, when it happened to him, it was a spiritual attack. You know, he was exempt. You know, no, don't say he's not keeping the commandments, but it was a spiritual attack. At the end of the day, in Israel, there's no respect of person, and if Moses was in a predicament of getting killed by the Most High until his wife stepped in with the circumcision of the son, I guarantee you, Dawel himself is not exempt. And the fact that he was sick for several days, where everybody was going all around seeking prayer, Pastor Joe Fox, you know, was calling everybody, sharing the urgency of such attack on him, should give you guys an indication that at the end of the day, he's held accountable to this truth as much as we are, if not higher. And so for him to go and act the way he's been acting, again, Israel, wake up, don't be deceived. There's strength in the multitudes, you know, stick together, hang in there. But at the end of the day, every lion has his day, and I trust that when his day comes, you guys aren't disappointed to the point that you sacrifice the kingdom. All right? Enough said. Shalom.
Brother Eric, it was a blessing being able to speak with you. I'm glad you was able to give his testimony to help strengthen the body of Christ, as well as those who understand. And, you know, your testimony to let everybody know that what we're saying is just actual, factual, and truthful.